In the virtual, however, the relationship between the signifier and the signified breaks down, and the code becomes what Hales calls the flickering signifiers. Within this realm, language and the speed of the brain-body interface through mouse and keyboard is understandably too slow to deal with the asynchronous bias of this new medium. This is a changing way we think about the body. The body is at stake, pun intended. We are already beginning to use tools to augment our body, which makes us the everyday cyborg. Our bodies are already a site for transhuman living as we engage with ubiquitous technologies and pervasive platforms. And what was said about grandmother using technologies to augment her body. So we're simultaneously augmenting the human through smartphone enabled and the work that sort of Kevin Warwick is doing, and distributing the human through things like Facebook. The technology we engage with on a regular basis is indeed constructing a new technology of the self. As Bernard Wolfe claims in his sci-fi novel Limbo, the human skin is an artificial boundary. The world wanders into it and the self wanders out. The essential self is porous. The abstraction in which we currently operate requires a new estrangement for understanding, which we must simultaneously and indeed paradoxically make the familiar strange whilst utilising technological tools to make the strange familiar. As technical innovation has become the mainstream, future shock seems like an impossible scenario, and innovation and adoption are the norm. With perhaps the exception of those in the room today, we are not only biologically ill-equipped, but ideologically ill-equipped for the new forms that may emerge if, or shall I say when, to humour the room, radical life extension, subsequent minds, bioenhancement, etc., into the cultural status quo. The question we must ask is, will a wider public receive it in opposition? And if so, how can this be overcome? Do we need new forms of understanding, forms that I advocate should be constructed through immersive engagement with our oldest technology, perceptual augmentation, art? Now, what do I mean by augmentation? When I talk about art as an augmentation of perception, I'm not referring to art as being facilitated by augmentation, as was advocated in a brilliant talk given here by Eamon Twyman last year. Instead, I suggest that art is the technology that disrupts our perception of the world and renders our language discourse obsolete. Only when we try to intellectualise art is it reduced to language. So that's augmentation. Art and science innovation have always existed in counterpart. During the rise of Darwinism, coupled with an increased uncertainty about natural order, which could potentially produce bizarre embodiments of monstrosities, the public engaged with these ideas through art. This took the form of grotesque carnival exhibitions of human oddities and curiosities. Now science is no longer seen as the other and traverses the boundary between the laboratory and industry. Thus, the techno-scientific innovations are passed with little lag time to the public. Innovation has become mainstream. The westernised human used to search for the missing link, but it has become increasingly clear that we ourselves, increasingly post-Darwinist in our thinking, could be incomplete. A new subjectivity sees the body as an object that needs to be enhanced, extended and augmented. We have become the grotesque agent that in itself disrupts natural order. We believe today that our understanding of human nature would enable us to target social problems through progress in the fields of genetics, FRMI, and eradicate these undesirable mutations. However, I'd say it's art that will engage the wider public on an emotional level and orient their moral compass, but as the hopes and fears of human progression give rise to thoughts about ethics. Technology, like art, is a way of relating ourselves to the world we're trapped in. Maybe I shouldn't use that phrase. Feedback loops occur, which positions us all as artists of our own morphological identities. There is a constant process of creation as your virtual selves reflect back. On the way we conceive our own corporeality. So here was probably the first feedback loop, from the Vitruvian to the virtual. This has played itself out on Facebook and Second Life. But external forms of symbolic storage, where we augment our identity onto these forms are nothing new. Ever since we wrote Dear Diary, we've been placing our memories in external symbolic storage. Or as MIT professor Sherry Turkle put it, I share, therefore I am. Or as I put it, Facebook ergo sum. I would like to draw on Terry Flaxton's recent appropriation of the term velocitation to highlight my point. So velocitation is caused by long periods of high-speed travel. The eyes become fatigued in the horizontal plane to the images streaming through the windscreen. Velocitation can be noticed when entering in built-up areas after long periods of country driving. The speed drops from 100 km an hour to 60 km an hour and makes the driver think the car is going much slower, maybe walking pace. The eyes can no longer judge the horizontal velocity correctly and cannot judge, say, following distance. The only remedy is to stop the images streaming through the window screen. To do this, stop and park for several minutes and allow the eyes to rest. I'd say art traditionally is the point at which the eyes can rest and the mind can reflect. In a present of terminal velocity and a future of increasing acceleration, quote, velocitation is the analogue response to the digital world, and when acclimatised we will learn to adapt and become comfortable with the speed of transition. Our current stagnation comes from the interface, an attempt to conceptually understand this brave new virtual world of 3D and haptics and telematics and image skins and VR within the traditional codes of language structure. These practices, however, are unlike language, and they're not born of the frontal lobes and voice centres of the brain. This language is too slow for the asynchronous speed of thought exchange that the internet now allows. Traditional language structures are not defunct, however. This analogue technology can no longer represent this new virtuality of the coded, simple and elegant language of yes, no, on-off binary of ones and zeros. That's fine. Fundamentally, this leads to a realisation that the definition of self is changing, and that the H+ agenda offers an opportunity of extending the boundary of our biology to enhance ourselves, as my nan currently does. Although many may argue that limitation leads to meaning, we are entering a new paradigm in which the virtuality of technology and the body meet. Whether the final form would be biological or digital or even wetware, as Natasha Vita-Moore's primo posthuman suggests, one thing is clear. Our current digital interactions are the first catalyst in allowing us to redefine what it means to be human. As we investigate and navigate the world with these tools, we are traversing the transhuman. The act of traversing, which gives rise to the title of my talk, makes use of multiple definitions, all of which are appropriate in understanding the multiplicities of uses of art. By traversing transhumanist themes, one can simultaneously pass, move over, go along, or go through, go to, fro, go over, along, extend, across, look over, examine, consider, carefully review, survey, obstruct, thwart, contradict, or deny the transhumanist agenda. However, for this H+ agenda to reach a wider audience, we must also need tools and technologies of public engagement. I would argue that in the first instance, conferences like this one allow for access to the public academic, and in a forum in which the debate that David Wood has coined the 21 questions for 2011. But I believe that art is also our most important tool for effectively informing, educating and engaging the public with the legal, ethical and philosophical debates that raise the possibility of a transhuman future. I would argue that we're all performers of the H+ art, and indeed the digital native generations are already artists of their own external identities. Our interactions with emerging technologies already offer a glimpse of the potential of how we may redefine what it means to be human. These immersive experiences allow for us to construct a future identity which will survive beyond biological death. We extend ourselves through ubiquitous technologies. Although let me be realistic, art won't save the world, and it won't save the human. In fact, if it plays a role in constructing the aesthetic of the human, then I say, let it. Would you rather an artist, scientist, or AGI decide the new forms we take? One thing is clear. Technology is allowed to control, alt, enter, and even possibly delete our biological bodies. We need an understanding of what this means for the human. Thank you.